Like I got some sense. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I sound like Shayoon. He starts all of his videos. Hello, everybody. All right. Let's jump in with both feet. Where the thing? Hold on. Oh, really? First of all, I'm gonna do that. I usually do this at the end, but I'm gonna do this at the beginning. I am passing around the digital tin cup. If you want to support and help to sustain the BroDiallo broadcast, you see going across the bottom of your screen right now ways that you can make a contribution. Damn, I got a weird list. Lithium grease, multi-purpose lithium grease. Man, I know what I'm supposed to do with that. I had to write notes for myself about what I want. I'm like, why do I have lithium grease on my list? But I know why. For nothing nefarious. It's all for the Lord's work. Anyway, going across the bottom of the screen is ways you can support the BroDiallo broadcast. And if you don't have the material means, you could always like, share, and subscribe the BroDiallo Show so we can sustain some critical, evidence-based, radical analysis, or whatever else you want to call me. I get called all kind of shit, and I know I can't label myself what I think I am because people gonna contradict it no matter what. So whatever you think this is, if you think it's worthy of support, please do. And if you don't think it's worthy of support, you can still share it and show people what's wrong in the world. Because I show y'all be showing a whole lot of right-wing reactionary and racist media all over the internet. So if you find me to be repulsive, you should still share. Okay, that's that. I might say it again at the end because I need help. Show some love. Anyway, welcome to the BroDiallo broadcast. I have been watching, I hate to admit this, but I have been watching the Diddy documentary. And what's the weirdest thing about that documentary is it's such a hack documentary. That documentary is such a hack documentary with the Diddy Reckoning documentary because it's just rehashing shit that was already in the streets. For anybody that was interested, for anybody that cared about the saga of Bad Boy, Death Row, the mysterious deaths of Biggie and Tupac, the biggest issue with that is it doesn't really show anything new. And even when the new footage, the never before seen footage does not even reveal anything that anybody with half a brain wouldn't already know about Diddy. When Diddy got in the car and was like, oh, give me some hand sanitizers out here touching the commoners. Or him, talking to his lawyers. So I always get frustrated because the streets, the hood, the community will always gas me up saying, oh, this thing, and everybody's talking and chatting and talking all this mess about some media product. And then I go watch it and be like, I don't know, but Public Enemy told me 30 years ago, don't believe the hype. And I didn't listen to Public Enemy. But I don't feel bad for not listening to Public Enemy because Public Enemy didn't listen to Public Enemy either. But I keep falling for the hype. I keep believing the hype. I don't know why. I know why I believe the hype, because I want to be on the bandwagon. All my life, I've wanted to join my people in the bandwagon. I see all these trends going up from childhood, Black people jumping on one bandwagon after the next. And I always find myself more often than not having to not only not get on the bandwagon, but I be trying to slash the tires of the bandwagon because it's some bullshit. So I figured everybody's watching this. And then my wife, she don't bother me much at all. She does not bother me. She doesn't ask a lot of me. And so she was like, I think I'm going to check it out. She said, my sister said she watched it. I'm going to check it out. So I was like, okay, I'm going to check it out with you. I haven't seen all of it. But up until that time, like, there's nothing new there. Like, why are y'all hemming and hawing when all he did was compile a bunch of footage and information that's been out here for 20 years already? So I don't understand why y'all acting like that. And then And then, you know, it did make me feel nostalgic. Believe it or not, I was in them streets. I was in New York in the 90s. And I was in the club scene. I was going to concerts. I was out there on the hip hop scene in the 90s. So it was nostalgic in a way that it kind of took me back to my clubbing era, back when you couldn't go online to look up what was going on. You had to get a copy of the Village Voice. You had to go buy a copy of the Village Voice, or if you wanted a review of the hottest album, you had to go get a hard copy of the Source magazine or Vibe magazine and all that shit. I remember there was a really funny magazine back in the day, Around the Way Connections, you know, by Star and Buckwild, put out a little newspaper. Good times, man. Shout out to everybody from downstate, State University of New York, Brooklyn campus, Church Ave. So I'm looking at this thing and I'm not even paying attention to all the expose because, like I said, 50 Cent is a hack as far as this goes. As far as this documentary, he's a hack because all it is just rehashing shit that's already been out there. But anyway, so I did get a little reminiscing, some of the Biggie footage, being a Biggie fan. You know, I was actually working. I just finished got my certification as a radiographer, and I was working on Rikers Island. And I worked on Rikers Island between like 93, what was it, 94, 95, 96. So I was there when they had Tupac locked up there. I was there when they had Flavor Flav locked up there, a lot of celebrities. So all that shit. So it was a kind of a reminiscent thing, some of the footage and the fashion and the music. But as far as rich blacks being scumbags, rich blacks have been scumbags since the Arab colonization of the African continent. Affluent, wealthy, since Mansa Musa. Rich blacks have been scummy since Mansa Musa. And y'all celebrating Mansa Musa like he's a historical hero. I guess 1,500 years from now, they're going to celebrate 50 Cent, maybe even Diddy as hero. But anyway, that's that. Y'all tricked me again. I can't get on this bandwagon. But it's very disturbing, the dialogue surrounding this. The dialogue surrounding this is disturbing. And I have to say why. There's a lot of people coming out condemning 50 Cent for the wrong reasons. I condemn 50 Cent. I do not like 50 Cent. I don't rock with 50 Cent. I think his values, his ideology, his positioning in the black culture, his positioning in the black community, his positioning in the economic system, his relationship to the political system and the economic system. 50 Cent is problematic for a million and one ways. But one way he's not problematic is kicking Diddy while he's down. And black folks out here, a lot of the prominent black people, Ja Rule of all people, talking about, oh, you trying to attack a black man. And now that rhetoric is back to say whenever a black man becomes powerful, whenever a black man gains some status, they want to bring the black man down. And I always ask myself, because if you read between the lines, if you look at the boring parts of the documentary, not this parts with the rap and the gangster shit and the sex, if you look at the economic component of the goddamn system of the documentary, it would make no sense for the system to want to bring down Diddy, R. Kelly, Bill Cosby. Who are these other prominent Negroes y'all think that the men to bring down Mike Tyson back when Mike Tyson got his essay charge? And when Mike Tyson was going through all that, this rhetoric has been around me my entire life, where a prominent black man gets to a position of wealth and status and fame, and then the system bring them down. And us poor and working class black people, us poor and working class, us black folks who live check to check in debt, the black masses, the unwashed black masses gonna get out here and champion and cheer for a black person who is not worthy of our support. And I have to say this, black people, we don't have many assets collectively. Some of y'all individually got assets, I'm sure. But we collectively don't have many assets. So the one thing we have that we surrender too often is our ability to legitimize the blackness. Our rejection, collective rejection or embrace of an individual is a very powerful tool we have as the black masses that we squander. We show love to sellouts. We show so much goddamn love to sell out. We incentivize selling out. We don't give any type of reward for loyalty to the race, and we don't have any real consequences for disloyalty to the race. So now that rhetoric has come back, a black man being taken down. If you look between the lines of the documentary, you'll see when he left Andre Harrell. In fact, when he had issues, remember Andre Harrell was like, the board called, the white boys called down. The white man up here, and all these prominent black Negroes in the camera dancing and carrying tuxedos and documents. He said the white boy came and said, get rid of Puffy after the stampede. And he said he had to say, no, boss, this man is going to make us money. This man going to make it. He going to make money for us. Don't fire him. And they were like, fine, you ain't got to fire Puffy. Keep him on a tighter leash. And then when Puffy was like, I'm going to get out here and do my own thing. I'm going to get out here and do something independent. I'm going to do something as a black man. He didn't walk out in them streets. He didn't leave. What was it called? The record company. Was it Arista? He didn't leave that company that he went from an intern to A&R. He didn't walk. Where did he go? He left. He jumped off of one white man's lap and jumped on the lap of another white man, Clive Davis. So Uptown, right? You go from Uptown to Arista, whatever. It's so whenever you see a prominent black person being taken down, let me tell you something about every single prominent black person. They are an asset, a wholly owned subsidiary of white money and white power. You know, they getting pimped. So why the hell would a pimp take down a top earning hoe? And these rappers get out here and talk about, oh, these hoes, we don't love these hoes. These prominent, wealthy, elite blacks are the biggest hoes in the game. They ain't just selling their bodies. They selling out the whole culture, selling out the whole community. They selling out our future. They're selling out the very viability of us as a culture, as a race, as a community. So stop with this. It's irrational. Before you can say, because the youth are watching us, right? And so when you know, I just saw this article was written about the FBI coordinated with the Chicago Police Department to take down Fred Hampton. You know, and there's still information coming out of that, but you know goddamn well Curtis Jackson, get rich or die trying, ain't gonna put no money up to expose the government's insidious crimes against black people. He ain't gonna put no money up to tell the story of our freedom fighters. He ain't gonna put no money up to tell how the government railroaded Geronimo Jajaga Pratt, how the government railroaded Asada, how the government continues to railroad Pete O'Neill, how the government railroaded Mutulu Shakur. He ain't gonna put no money up for that. He'll put money up to take down, which is it's whatever. I really, you know, I saw the first 3 episodes and I'm like, I didn't even watch the final episode. But going back to, before you open your goddamn mouth to talk about a black man being taken down by the system, by the man, before you open your goddamn mouth, you have to articulate whether that black man was an asset or a liability. Did that man conduct his affairs in a way to subvert the dominant paradigm, to subvert the status quo, or did that man conduct himself to validate and enrich those above him? Yeah, he was robbing creative people. He was leading to the premature death of a lot of creative young black talent. But name an elite, wealthy, established white person that he was a threat to. And 50 Cent too. 50 Cent loved it. Everybody talk about how 50 Cent is so petty. 50 Cent, he ain't had beef with a powerful white man yet. How you been in the industry for 3 decades and ain't found a white man you got a problem with? But I digress. Here's the thing, though. In the beef between Puffy and 50 Cent, black people, we can watch from a distance for entertainment purposes. I don't fault you for that, but don't get invested. Fuck them both. One thing I was just reading, Ja Rule was talking about 50's domestic violence accusations, and the racially ambiguous baby mama, his second racially ambiguous baby mama, was suggesting that she had suffered some financial manipulation, financial abuse. All the motherfuckers is dirty, which makes sense, because why would the system of capitalism and white hegemony cultivate a revolutionary black man, a conscious black man, a principled black man? So it just pains me. This is not really anything we should be celebrating 54, and this is not something we should be having sympathy for 50 Cent. We're on the side of the people. We are class conscious. We are on the side of the working class masses. We are not on the side of anybody else. I have to say. But y'all got to stop. Don't tell me about a black man being taken down by the system if you can't tell me how that black man was a liability to the system. The only black men that can be taken down by the system are black men that stand in opposition to the system. A black man, Bill Cosby, and all the rest, all these prominent black men that y'all claim were taken down by the system, were assets, allies, and completely subordinate to the system. No, they were just being policed. They were being investigated. They were prosecuted. They played out. They were not anybody we should ever have any sympathy for. And if you out here talking the same rhetoric about Diddy being taken down as Fred Hampton, Cosby being taken down the same as Malcolm X being taken down, you a goddamn fool. But I digress. I ain't even planning to get onto that. All I have to say is my assessment of the documentary is it's rehash shit. And I don't mind rehashing shit. Lord knows I have a bad habit of going back to read old books when I got new books to read. And so I like to revisit my favorites, and the same thing, not just books, video games. I be playing 10, 15, 20-year-old video games. Well, that ain't me. That's not my fault. That's everybody else's fault, because I know you a lie. Let me start it. I'm going to come back to that. Whew. I know you is a lie. How was Cosby not an asset? Did he not give to black colleges? Cosby was an asset of white folks. I'm going to come back to that. Yeah, and here come B More Akuma. There you go. I ain't even got to talk. Hey, B More Akuma, let me introduce you to John J. 6730. Y'all go into a side room and you go tell this fool how was Cosby. Oh, you're just asking. Bless your heart, John J. You are just asking, and I will respond to that. But that is hilarious. He get a college. Oh, Lord. Okay. Yeah, he paid some tuition. Ain't nothing. Yeah, the white man has lost a lot of sleep. Can you imagine DuPont Rockefeller laying in his gold gilded cage? Oh, another Negro's getting an education. Oh. Let me address that now. Hell, we got a little time. Here, let me show you this shirt that was let me show you this. I used to see this. This was hot fire. When I was in college, everybody had this fucking shirt. Everybody. I never bought this shirt because I knew this shit is not clear. I need clarity. I'm not a smart man. I'm not a very smart man. You know. So this shirt, let me show. I'm gonna just talk. Let me go ahead and deal with this right now because this shit is real. Because this is adjacent to what I wanted to talk about anyway. And I don't even want to talk about what I came here to talk about. I just have to talk about it. There's other shit I want to talk about. But let me show you this. You know. Y'all see this? Danger. Educated black man. You see that, right? When I was in college, back in the early 90s, Back when I had dreadlocks. First, I had a high top fade in high school. Then when I went off to college and I got knowledge of self, I grew out my dreads and had my cowrie shell jewelry and my fake East Coast accent. And I thought I was the coolest cat. And everybody was rocking this shirt. Danger, educated black man. And the first time I saw the shirt, what I thought to myself is, who is this being communicated to? Right? I thought, who are they communicating this danger to? Because if you see that sign, of course, it's a road sign. And when you see that road sign posted, right? When you see that road sign posted, the sign was to warn pedestrians. So when you see a sign, it's like, hey, this is a threat. This is a dangerous, be cautious, be more alert. And so when I saw this danger, educated black man, I'm like, who is the educated black man a danger to? Everyone? Everybody? Or is a danger to the educated black man a danger to other black people? Is he a danger to white folks? Is he a danger? What the fuck is a educated black man a danger to? So even though I understood what the shirt maybe was trying to communicate, I don't take shit for granted. My wife gets on me all that, taking shit too literal. You know, and I listen to people and I interpret shit the way they say it. I interpret shit the way it's written. I interpret shit the way it is. And I'm like, goddamn, educated black people have been a danger. But educated black people, from my perspective, have by and large been a danger to other black people. You go look at the percentage of black people, having been through school myself, being married to an educator. I was a clinical instructor. When I was in college, I initially went into the medical field, and then I started, teetering around, didn't know what to do with myself. I wanted to bring down the system. And I just couldn't figure out how to major in that. But anyway, I'd be sitting in classrooms next to other black people securing their degrees, postgraduate. I've been in classrooms and I'd listen to the other students. And sometimes they would have to present their materials and present their papers. Like one time I was getting my master's degree and I was in this classroom and this student got up and was doing this presentation. This is years ago. I ain't been in nobody's classroom in a hot minute. But I'm in my second year towards my master's, and this woman of color gets up and gives a full endorsement of fascism. I think her thesis was somewhere in school governance and school discipline or some shit. I don't remember. But she got up there and basically gave a full-throated endorsement of fascist policies in secondary education. And I'm sitting there looking like, the fuck? This woman is a bona fide. This is long before MAGA. This is before 2016. I haven't seen the degree. When did I graduate? My wife put these things up on the wall. Ain't nobody impressed by that shit. But anyway, I was a student at CSU, downstate, and all I have to say is if you've been to college, maybe high school, you can't really go by that. I was a wild dude in high school. You can't go by nothing I did or said in high school. Everybody get a break. But you go from undergrad, grad, post-grad, and you sit in a classroom full of black people in higher education and tell me and listen to what they say. They do their presentation, submit their articles in the classroom discussions, the questions they ask or how they answer questions, and tell me who the fuck educated black people have been a threat to. And I'm not saying, because I know some black people with PhDs, Dr. Amos N. Wilson, Dr. Bobby E. Wright, Dr. Francis Cresswell. I know there are a lot of highly educated people, but if you go read their books, first of all, none of those radical thinkers, none of those revolutionary thinkers have any status in formal academia, past or present. None of them. Most of them are in the fringes of their areas, historians, psychologists, economists. I know I can name some living ones. If they are conscious, if they are revolutionary, if they're principled and honest, they are the fringes of their formal education. When you look at the people in the car, the people in in administration, the people who are the heads of these organizations, Dr. Negro, Dr. Nigga, Dr. Coon. And when you look, they are status quo. So all I have to say is giving money to black colleges is not fueling black liberation. It is not funding black revolution. An educated black man is more likely to be a threat to us than an asset to us, because we ain't got the money to pay them. So when they graduate from college with 6-figure more debt, they can't come work for us. What's Angela Davis with a question mark? No, let's not talk about Dr. Davis. Let me tell you something, man. How you go from FBI's most wanted to a tenured professor at a prestigious? Like I said, I ain't seen white men to be able to go from the most wanted list to respected academic. I don't even, if a white man can't do it, how a radical sister do that? How they do that there? That's some propaganda. But I digress. All I'm saying is a Negro coming with a degree from an institution, the more prestigious the institution, the harder the side eye should be. They are not being taught to lead us, to educate, to better us. Those educated black people are assets of the systems and institutions of capitalism and white domination. And that's why every time it breaks my heart, let me not say it breaks my heart. That might be too much. That might be too much. It breaks my heart. I'm going to say it. I go online. It's about to come up. You know, it's about to come up around spring, around, mid to late spring. Everybody starts posting these brilliant black children. These brilliant black children, full ride academic scholarship, full ride academic scholarship, full ride academic scholarship, full ride. This Negro, he's been accepted at every Ivy League school. This 12-year-old black child with an 18.4 GPA, it got accepted to Harvard. We got this young black lady, this brilliant young black woman. She's a Rhodes Scholar. This little Negro's going off to MIT. And every year, on social, since I've been on social media, I see these posts of these brilliant black children going off to institutions of higher learning. But you know what I never see? Any announcements of those brilliant kids coming back. They're working in the private sector or the governmental sector. And that's the only way they can make good on the money. Even if they got a full ride scholarship, they still got to pay for food, lodging, transportation. Yes, I got one of the degrees. That's why I'm not speaking from outside. I'm speaking from inside. Yes. Yes. Most of our people have been educated out of their goddamn minds. Go talk to them. Go talk to educated black people. Read the shit they're publishing. Read the shit they're writing. Read their dissertations. For every revolutionary, conscious, accurate, radical, anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist dissertation writing, you're going to find 1,000 status quo established Negro dissertation. But I digress. All I'm saying is Bill Cosby giving money to black students, take it. I'm saying black student, take it. You have an opportunity to go to an institution of higher learning, take it. I don't mind, but hey, food stamps, whether it's a food stamps or a full ride scholarship, take everything you can get. Like Wise Intelligence said, don't turn down nothing but your collar. When it comes to getting anything in this system or society, don't turn down nothing but your collar. But what I am arguing is we cannot misinterpret what it means. So somebody give you something. Don't misinterpret what it means. I was raised on Section 8 housing. I was raised on Medicaid. I was raised on food stamps. I'm grateful for them. I wish I could get all that shit right now. And let me tell you, if the circumstances come that I become eligible for food stamps, I'm going to give me some damn food stamps. I don't turn down nothing, but the receiving food stamps does not endear me to the government. I understand that the government and the elites and those who govern me without my consent extract the wealth from my community, and then they hold the power and the guns, and then they reallocate and trickle down the shit back to me. So I get benefits from the government, but yet my hostility for the state, my hostility for the institutions of power grows. It grows. So we can't understand. So if you get a scholarship, your distrust, your hostility for the status quo, and your distrust of institutions of higher learning should not be pacified by receiving a scholarship. So all I'm saying is we can't call shit that ain't revolutionary revolutionary. Even if it's just because it's good, just because it's positive, just because it's helpful, don't mean it's revolutionary. So yeah, Bill Cosby, it's obvious now. If it wasn't back then, it was obvious to me in the 80s that Bill Cosby, yeah, him giving money to black institutions was an insidious act. But if Bill Cosby called here tomorrow and was like, hey, you got a senior in high school, I'm gonna buy him, I'm gonna pay for his books or whatever, I'd take it from Cosby. Hell yeah, I'd take it. But I'm not gonna compromise myself. Don't compromise yourself for that shit. So no, giving money to, and that so no, that's not. First, educated black folks are not a threat simply by having an education. Most educated black people are assets of the system, not hostile assets. Just like they're a black man, a black cop, or a black soldier. They are fodder for the system, not potential threats to the system. Why do I say Cosby? First of all, Cosby was a predator. Cosby was very astute in maintaining his public image. So making tax deductible, tax refundable donations allowed him to carry influence over black institutions. And what did he want to articulate to black institutions? Integration, anti-African, anti-black, pro-capitalist, pro-establishment, pro-status quo. So Cosby was utilizing his money to reproduce himself. Just like if I had Cosby money, I would look around the world and say, how do I allocate these funds to support, sustain, reproduce, expand Pan-African, revolutionary Pan-Africanism? So what was Bill Cosby's ideology? Pro-capitalist, pro-Western, pro-America, anti-black. Bill Cosby was anti-black as fuck. So Bill Cosby was utilizing his immense influence and his immense resources to reproduce himself, to endear people to him for the purposes of undue influence, exploitation, and abuse, and to distort and warp our sense of who we are and our sense of very justice and morality. Okay, let me talk about MAGA. Now, let me tell you, the title of this show is a lie. This is a dishonest title of a show, but I was having trouble titling this show. I was trying to get a title of a show that wouldn't be a whole sentence. Because what I really wanted to say, what I really want to say is that we have not learned the lesson that MAGA is here to teach us. Black people, we are missing the lesson of MAGA. We are misunderstanding. What's the quote? I say this all the time. I'm sick of saying it. We've been in this country the longest and we understand it the least. We've been in this country the longest and we understand it the least. We don't understand the lesson that MAGA is attempting to teach us. That's the real thing. And to see how Black people, anti-MAGA and pro-MAGA Black people, are misunderstanding everything that MAGA is demonstrating to us in the world. And it's sad because I see on the African continent don't understand MAGA. There are some people who do understand MAGA. The Soviet Union understand MAGA. The Soviet Union, Lord, the Russian Federation. I need to slow down. I need to stop drinking this shit right here. The Russian Federation understand MAGA. The Chinese Communist Party and its leadership understands MAGA. And the thing is if you don't understand MAGA, you don't understand the trajectory of modern history, power, and economics. Now, the reason we have to understand MAGA, and I put some people on the thing, you know, I got William A. Smith, Kanye West, uh, Kamala Harris, I got Ice Cube, Dave Chappelle, Candace Owens, and Barack Obama on there with the Blacks for Trump. Because all these people are not only instrumental in the emergence of Trump, they are instrumental in our continuing misunderstanding and distortion of Trump. Because here's the reality. The United States empire is eroding. I think it is important to understand the erosion of an empire precedes the collapse of an empire. Because if you say America's falling or America is collapsing, and then you got people operating under that conclusion or assumption, and then they go to school, they get jobs, they live their lives, they have children and great grandchildren, they grow old, and they're sitting in the rocking chair, and here America is still teetering on. So empires don't collapse. History records and misidentifies them as collapse. But empires erode, they rot, they decay from within. And the system of erosion and decay and rot happens over a long period of time. And within that, I don't know if you've ever dealt with someone who's in hospice. I don't know if you've ever been around people who are in the later stages of life or in the later stages of a terminal illness. But many of those people, which I've seen with my own eyes, many times they'll have what is called a remission or a rebound. And during that remission and or rebound, they'll be up doing shit they weren't able to do in years or in days, and they'll have a clarity. You know, you got somebody with dementia, Alzheimer's, and one day you interact with them and they have so much clarity and their memories functioning and shit. So would you be like, hey, we've turned a corner? So when you got something like a global empire and it starts to lose influence, it starts to lose its grip on power, it starts to have challenges that it can't face. And it's been so many times. I was in high school reading a book that was written in the 60s called The Fall of America. And I had a leader, a chairman of my first Black organization, Brother Ajamu, who was the leader of the or the chairman of the Black United Front Kansas City chapter. And he told me, this man is older than me now. He's older than me by like 20 years. And when I was a young activist in my late teens, he said, you know, when I was your age, he said, I didn't think, you know, he went on just like he had gotten married, 2 beautiful daughters, wonderful home, built a wonderful business, been fighting and organizing in the community. And now I think he's on the African continent. He's retired to the continent. He said, you know, when I was young, he's like, I didn't think America would still be here. Then when I was coming up in the late 50s, the 60s, I thought, man, this country's going to be done. And we're going to all be, the communists are going to overthrow America. The guerrillas and the Latin American guerrillas are going to take. He said, you know, I was like, a lot of times when I was in school and then going into college, I was thinking to myself, man, maybe I'm wasting my time because America's going to fall. He had the exact same sentiment 20 years when he was 16, 17. He was like, yeah, America's on the brink. America's about to collapse. And there's a corrupt, racist president, and the white folks that lost their goddamn minds, don't know what the hell they're doing. Same thing I did in the 90s. When America was transitioning from Ronnie Reagan to Bill Clinton. I'm like, yeah, this shit is done. White man is done. It is, you know, and it was all these prominent Black people out here talking slick. And now, today, there's people out there, America's done. And, the dollar. You know, the dollar will no longer become the international standard for trade and all that, and the economic, the World Bank. But the reality is, two realities. Number one, the downfall of America is not the same as the downfall of white hegemony or capitalism. And the real culprit is white hegemony and capitalism. We witnessed the fall of the British Empire, of which the sun never set on the British Empire. We witnessed the collapse of the Soviet Union. We witnessed many political and economic upheavals throughout our lives, but the fundamental underlying system of oppression remains the same. Money changes hands, the logos and the labels on the door change up, but the fundamentals of the system and the society and oppression remains the same. When I was a kid, we had famines in Ethiopia. Now we got famines in Somalia and Sudan. You know, when I was in college, they were invading Iran, the Gulf. They were invading Iraq to steal the oil, and now they're looking to invade Venezuela. You know, before I was born, my uncle was in Vietnam fighting in a quagmire. And when my child was born, the United States was in Afghanistan fighting in a quagmire. So, what does MAGA got to do all? Black people, MAGA is a byproduct and grew out of the Obama administration. And it's so curious to me how Obama is seen as, number one, being in opposition to the MAGA movement, and number two, being something that we can look back fondly and reminisce about on the Obama administration. I even say people are saying if Trump violates the Constitution and tries to run for a third term, then we should mobilize and get behind Obama, and Obama should run for a third term as well, and he could beat. As if Obama is not opposition to Trump. Obama was a precursor. Obama was the download expansion. You ever play like real-time strategy games? And then they have expansion. Like I play Age of Empires. And first they always start off with the European powers. The French, the German, the Brits, maybe the Spaniards if you're lucky. And then they'll come out with an expansion pack. And the expansion pack are the native, the Mohawks and the Cherokee Indians. You could play Indian civilization, Native American or indigenous civilization. And then they'll come out with another expansion pack that you can play the Asian powers, Japan, Imperial Japan, and the Chinese dynasties. But before you can play, you can't just go straight to play the Chinese dynasties. Like if you buy the download the Chinese dynasty, they say before you can download and play the dynasty, you have to have the original game, the original limited game. And then you can buy an expansion and then another expansion. But if you ain't got, or if you play Mortal Kombat, maybe that game's a little too heady. If you play Mortal Kombat and they let you play with Conan the Barbarian, Mortal Kombat 1, you could download and play Conan the Barbarian. But if you didn't buy the original game with the basic characters, you couldn't download Conan. Or you could download Conan the Barbarian, you couldn't play it. Obama's administration was like that. You would not be, without Obama's administration, you could have never downloaded MAGA. Obama is the software that the MAGA app is feeding off of. If you did not have two things Obama did, one thing was out of his control, one thing was completely in his control, that Obama did to allow for the emergence of MAGA. First thing Obama did was just to be not white. Y'all play games. I remember I was living in Kansas City when Obama announced his candidacy. And Negroes was crying their eyes out. It was some weird shit. And I owned a small restaurant, and people would come into my restaurant. Yeah, CB Moore, you playing. Let me do. Yes, the Tea Party. I'm getting to that. Trying to do a build up, trying to get to a climax. Can I get to my climax? Why you just want to rush to the end, B more? Let's take our time. We got a little time. Anyway, what was I saying? I was in Kansas City and people were losing their mind behind Obama. But one thing I say about Obama is everybody said Obama was black. Everybody said Obama was black. And then Kamala comes, and as far as my black, see, I'm old school when it comes to blackness. I'm still stuck in the one drop theory. Y'all the motherfuckers done got scientific with this race shit. Y'all done got, double helix with this with this goddamn race shit. I didn't fuck with the double helix. I didn't fuck with when it came to race. It wasn't about DNA. It was about EYE. What do you look black? You black. This is up to history. But I ain't even gonna get into that. But everybody was like, Obama, black president, first black president. And then here come Kamala, and now all of a sudden y'all want to be mad particular. Even Janet Jackson's ass. Oh, Kamala's black? Is your nose black? I mean, Kamala is as black as Janet Jackson's son. And I have to say, Kamala's blacker than Obama. I don't know race math, but I gotta say, just guessing, just filling in the boxes randomly in the race quiz, that black and white is less black than black and Indian. But what do I? All I have to say is two things Obama did. One was out of his control. One was completely within his control. The thing he did that was out of his control is just be a black man with an unambiguous black woman and two black daughters and sitting in the seat of power. Now, I totally believe in my whole heart, if Obama could have helped being black, he would have. If Obama could fix being black, you can't blame Obama. It was cosmic roll of the dice. If Obama could have had a white father instead of that Kenyan deadbeat, I think Obama would prefer to be white. Obama did everything else white except for be white. So, but that was out of his control. Bless his heart. If he could have fixed it, he would have fixed it. Right? And so that drove white folks into a tizzy. That's the thing he did that was out of control. What he did that was fully within his quo is that he governed his policies, his entire administration, his oversight, his appointments, his international relationships. Everything Obama did was to sustain the new American century, full spectrum dominance, the unipolar world power, the United States being the world's sole superpower, preventing the rise and establishment of any challenges to American capitalist hegemony. Obama worked to validate, sustain, and expand the capitalist economic system. Obama failed to investigate and prosecute the crimes of the Bush administration, the international war crimes. Not only did he not investigate and prosecute the crimes, Obama perpetuated and continued the crimes. Obama embraced the new American century that was initially established by George Bush I, George W. Bush's father. Obama inherited the political trajectory from the first George Bush, Bill Clinton, and the second George Bush. And because Obama did that, he guaranteed the social, the social, economic, and cultural disintegration of American liberalism and the American left. And without liberalism and the left, you would have an unchecked right-wing movement. Because of that, many white people, and they do these surveys, many modern day MAGA white folks voted for Trump. I mean, voted for Obama. There's been all these surveys and all this study and all this reflection on how can a white person go for voting for Trump, go for voting for Obama, and then turn around and vote for a man who, on the surface, looks to be everything the opposite of Obama. Obama, a wholesome black man with one wife, no porn star scandals, who was an academic, articulate, and humane. Even he never struck out, even though he was one of the most. Y'all almost said that shit. Y'all getting to me. Who was out? Y'all say Obama was the most disrespected president in American history. And I know at least a half dozen U.S. presidents were shot, and a few of them were successfully assassinated. But you're going to sit here and talk about, to me, like I said, I think Kennedy was more disrespected as a president than Obama, but I digress. And even when it comes to racial slurs, white folks, you have to know about an Irish president or a Catholic president. Y'all don't know about white folks' hatred. Y'all, so like I said, we've been around in this country the longest, and we understand it the least. We don't know the ethnic squabbles amongst white folks, because we really understand racism, but we don't understand ethnicity. We don't have a word for it. But I digress. So Obama failed to prosecute the crimes of the Bush administration. He failed to draw back the deregulation brought about by Bill Clinton. NAFTA, GATT. He failed to end the unjust military adventurism, the illegal international war crimes. But on the surface, he gave a surface impression that he was a return to not just civility, an academic approach, an analytical academic approach to governance. He was also a return to progressive, liberal balancing. Power would be taken away from the entrenched power of institutional politics and the entrenched power of multinational corporations and big donors, and power would be returned to the people. So his campaign slogan was hope and change. And y'all really fell for it. Y'all was hopeful that things would change. And when it was discovered that Obama was all window dressing, Obama was nothing, that it was no, y'all kept hoping, but ain't a goddamn thing changed. Right? And Obama, no, I didn't fall for it. I never fell for it. I tell y'all, I told y'all my Obama story, but no, I never fell for it. I'm on paper. I said to one of our greatest black scholars of today, one of radical black economist, Dr. Lynn Wood, I told him Obama's election, I said this before he even secured the nomination. I said Obama's election would be a catastrophe for black people. So anyway, also, as he governed, we also missed the fact that Obama didn't just inspire black folk. Because just as black people are like America's falling because of Trump's in office, a mass number, a non-insignificant number of white people are like, America's falling. Trump election was the evidence of America's decay for y'all, but for many people, Obama's election was evidence of America's decay and America's backward. And what's another thing is, and this is what we have to understand, this is what, if you live in the United States and you don't understand this, you understand nothing. And I know that I'm not going to say the law of misnoting. There's two things you need to understand if you live in the United States or if you live on planet Earth. Number one, if you don't understand racism and white hegemony, everything you think you know will only lead to your confusion and entrench your confusion. If all of your analysis does not come out of the comprehension of white hegemony, but the original quote, Neely Fuller kind of laid the groundwork for it, and then Dr. Wade B. Nobles kind of built the architecture around the law of misknowing, saying until you understand white supremacy, everything you think you know will only confuse you. That's a fundamental comprehension of society and current reality as humans exist. If you don't know how something relates to white supremacy, you don't know that thing. Even if it's something where there are no white people within 1,000 miles, you cannot understand the Chinese revolution, communist revolution, or how China is governed, or Chinese economic, political, and social cultural movement. You don't understand the Middle East. You don't understand the rise and expansion of Islam. You don't understand any contemporary realities in politics, culture, society, geography without understanding white supremacy. There's another understanding related to the economic side, and that is coming from Noam Chomsky. The health of an economy has no correlation to the health of a society. Under capitalism, the health of the economy has no correlation to the health of the society. So Obama presided over an economic miracle. If you recall, as Bush was exiting office, the U.S. economic markers were in free fall. The housing market was collapsing. Many corporations were in need of a bailout. Boom, 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 all of that, right? Obama came to power on the heels of an economic collapse of the United States. Obama, and I think, especially economic historians and political scientists are going to talk about this for generations. Obama was masterful. First, in stopping the hemorrhaging, he sat down with buying up all those toxic assets. Yes, big bailouts, right? Yeah, it was big bailouts, but he did more than just throw money at it. I'm not going to bore people with it, but Obama, I have to say this. I don't like Obama, but he's a very good bureaucrat. He's everybody knows he's good at public speaking and very charismatic, but he's a competent bureaucrat. And coming from me, calling an elected official a competent bureaucrat is the highest compliment I can pay them. But he was very competent. But the problem is his agenda was an evil, horrible agenda, but he was very good at executing it. And so every day, people all across the United States in 2008, 2009, 2010s, they were turning on television and saying, oh, wow, the economy is recovering. The housing market is recovering. Wall Street is recovering. And they were looking all this recovery happening on the TV screen. And they would look at these charts and graphs and see all these positive indicators and these green lines going up. But their lives were getting no better. And they mistakenly thought they must be lying about the economy. The economy's not getting better. I'm not making more money. I'm not more secure. I'm not able to afford. I'm not able to go on a vacation. I'm not able to pay tuition. I'm not able to pay off my many debts. But every time I look at the TV, the economy is doing good. Because we've been told every day you turn on the TV and they tell you about Wall Street. People don't own stocks. You drive down the street and you look at these bright billboards with the NASDAQ, the Nikkei average. The vast majority, 80% of all the stocks are owned by the top 10% of investors. And most people that are in the stock market, all these hustlers and scammers, earn your leisure bullshitters, lying to you, thinking that you can be a player in that game. And so you get this message of, hey, everything's turning around, everything's getting better, but I'm suffering. Some people internalize that and say, I'm a failure. I'm an idiot. I can't get money out here, and there must be something wrong with me. But more people think they're lying. There's a fix in this, right? So capitalism, which is a word you don't really hear much, the most powerful force in the society, and you rarely hear the word said in polite company. So anyway, what that did was you have people that are mad that a black man is sullying the pristine White House, and then on top of that, you have this recovery, this economic miracle that is leaving the majority of the people behind. And the only reason people are surprised or outraged or don't understand that is because they have been told that the health of the economy means the health of the society. But under capitalism, which is an extractive economic system, you can only have two types of economies. That's what Kwame Ture was always trying to articulate to people who thought they could play around with it. So there's only two ways there's only two economies where a few people own or everybody owns. Either wealth is going to concentrate in the hands of the few or it's going to be maintained in the hands of the many. There is no middle ground. If you allow for an accumulative economy, then even if you regulate it, like Hillary Clinton said, capitalism is a good system, but it has to be regulated. But even as you how many fucking times has it been regulated? By nature, there's no good cancer. You either have cancer or you don't. There's no way to say, well, we're going to be cancers. We're going to have this metastatic tumor. We're going to have this metastatic tumor in the system, but we're going to put walls around it. We're going to take, a little chemo. We're going to exercise, eat a microbiotic diet. There's nowhere to be healthy and cancerous at the same time. You got to cut the fucking cancer out or allow it to consume you. Right? And so the system, as Kwame Ture said, either everybody owns or a few people are going to own. And whenever you say, well, I'm going to go with the system where a few people own, that few people becomes a smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller number because of accumulation. That's how cancer works. And no matter how much you feed, because now first we had millionaires, and then we have billionaires, then we have multi-billionaires. Now Elon Musk, they say, is on track to becoming the world's first trillionaire. And if he makes it to $1 trillion, and then Bezos makes it to $1 trillion, and then Zuckerberg makes it to $1 trillion, guess what? You're going to have multi-trillionaires. And then after multi-trillionaires, you're going to have your first quadrillionaire. There is no limit. I can't remember, a radical economist once said, a capitalist only wants one thing, and that's more. There is no limit. There is no ceiling. There is no stopping it unless you do away with it in totality. So anyway, back to Obama. Obama was presiding over an economic recovery that only benefited the people at the top and an outrage and disillusioned population. White people, as I said, everybody talks about how Obama inspired Black people and Black youth and young Black men in particular. But he also inspired white people. Now, you can inspire somebody to love you, or you can inspire somebody to, let me see if I'm using that right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's another word for it. I know if I say, yep, it's true. Inspire means simply, you can literally inspire somebody to do good, or you can inspire somebody to do evil. You can inspire love in someone, or you can inspire hatred in. And for every Black person that Obama's presence in office inspired to do good, there are 1 million ones inspired to. I got to pick up the pace. So anyway, I got to wrap up this Obama portion up. Obama's governance, Obama is a neoliberal. Neoliberalism is not the same as being a social liberal or just being a dyed-in-the-wool liberal. There is a distortion of liberalism. When liberalism was first founded, and you read, earliest liberal philosophers, as the Europeans were transitioning from monarchical system to a system of laws to govern them, republicanism, or democracies, right? So we go from having a monarch established by blood and by the divine right of kings to having officials that rule at the consent of the ruled. When that transitioning was happening, liberalism was only applied to humans. Liberalism means the ability to be free, to move and interact freely, to consciously and deliberately to be able to engage in contact and relationships, or the freedom to abstain from contact and relationship, freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of thought, freedom of religion. I can believe as I want. The government can't tell me what to believe. The church can't tell me what to believe. Hell, not even my employer can tell me. Because before, when you were born in the medieval period, your job was your job. Somebody changing jobs was unheard of. If you're a peasant farmer, then you're a peasant farmer. And somebody just moving, saying, hey, I don't like this neighborhood. I don't like this area. I don't want to live in the valley. I'm going to go live in the mountains. That shit was unheard of. That was the concept of liberalism. Do what you like. Like that's the song. That's the thing from Digital Underground. Everybody do what you like. That was liberalism. And it was revolutionary at a time where you had for white people. Now, this is all white folks' business. For much of this history, we were either living free or under some fucked up ass enslavement, colonization, imperialist type of relationship. But we weren't consulted in any of this. Plymouth Rock fell on us. And a lot of times we think, well, because we weren't a part of it, we weren't consulted by it, then we can just throw it away. No, because it still governs you. It still dominates the world, and we have to navigate it. Even if you hate it with all your soul, you have to tear it down before you put something in the way of it. Because to ignore the political economic reality of the world established by Europeans is to ignore a metastatic tumor in your gut. It's going to grow and consume you whether you like it or not. So it's best to get to work on cutting it out if you don't like it. So that was the concept of liberalism. And so then as the economic system transitioned from laissez-faire to and had several industrial revolutions, I think they've had a historians debate. Some say definitely 2 industrial revolutions. Some say there's as many as 3 or 4. And now we're going through these phases of technological revolutions that are rendering the industrial revolutions obsolete. But I digress. So anyway, they said, well, why should these liberties apply to me as a person? They should also apply to my property. I can do what I want with my body. I can go out and turn cartwheels. I can be a Christian, or even if or a Catholic or a Protestant, nobody can touch me. Nobody's going to turn me. Right? So why don't I apply that to my property? In fact, my rights should be an extension of my property. In fact, I should only have rights if I have property. Landed, white. And so the people who overthrew the kings, the merchants overthrew the kings because the merchants started making money, and the merchants like, I got more money than the king, but the king can just tell me what to do when I got more money than him. Because the king, the baron, the lord, they were still stuck in agriculture. When I'm out here doing international trade, I'm out here with rare and precious metals. I'm out here manufacturing arms, because it used to be business was done in cottage industries. The shoemaker had a little man making shoes, and his mother-in-law, his father-in-law, his niece and nephew and cousin, they all worked together making the shoes. If I was a farmer, you have all these different individual farmers. But then as technology created industrial scale production and cottage industries were gone, and now the people who say, hey, I don't need a bunch of stinking peasants to produce my goods. I can set up a factory and produce 10 times the amount of goods at a fraction of the cost and make more money, and I can hold this money. So as the merchant class overthrew the monarchical class, they were like, well, I got all this money, and now a king can't tell me what to do. But because I live in a democratic system now, people can vote away my power. because the elites in the society, the 1%, then you got 90% of the people that are voting out here voting. They can vote me out of power. They can vote to tax my wealth. They can vote to divvy up my lands. They can vote to prevent me from consolidating and consuming more and gaining more power. So I have to be able to say, hey, democracy is a threat to capitalism. But now I can't say, well, let's go back to kings. They tried that, actually. Read the history. They tried to go back. The wealthy said, let's go back to the monarchical system. Even in the United States, when they overthrew the redcoats were on the run. And during the American Revolution, there were a lot of elite people saying, hey, we want George Washington to be a king and establish a monarchy in the New World. Because they said if we let people vote, people are going to vote in their own class interest, and since the poor people always outnumber the rich people, then democracy is going to take every fucking thing we got. So anyway, long story short, economic liberalism. For a long time, the wealthy elites were saying, how do we have a free and democratic society, but prevent the democracy from leveling, prevent people from using their political power to trump our economic power. And so that's where liberalism came from. That's the origins of economic liberalism, or even neoliberalism, or what is sometimes called laissez-faire economics, saying, well, the person's property is equal to speech. So it's not just you as a physical entity that gets to speak and explore the world and engage humanity. My money is an extension of me. So my money has those same rights. My money can travel the world. My money can influence the church, influence politics. My money, I can donate monies to institutions and have my will exerted. And so my money, so if democracy becomes almost irrelevant when moneyocracy, plutocracy, Gilded Age type of concentration. So anyway, Obama was a firm proponent of that. Obama believed that people with money should be able to use their money as a means of expanding their status within a democratic city or within a democratic system. And like, we're all equal Americans, but some Americans are more equal. So the things that we thought Obama would tear down, Citizens United. We thought he was going to go to Wall Street with handcuffs. We thought he was going to go to arrest all these speculators who collapsed the housing market. We thought that he was going to privatize. Not privatize. What's the other thing? Nationalize industries. The automobile industry came to Obama with this handout. And they said, if we're giving the automobile industry millions of dollars, then the American people should own a stake in that. And so when the boardroom goes and say, we're going to lay off 1,500 workers, then the government representative that is speaking on behalf of the people say, you're not doing massive layoff for a minor profit, increase in profit. And you're not going to give the CEO all these billions of dollars in stock market. So all these things Obama could have done. Obama rejected all progressive policies. Obama ran as a progressive. He presented himself as a progressive in his campaign and stump speeches. He articulated as a progressive, and he governed as a reactionary capitalist, a neoliberal scumbag. And black people were torn. Many black people, some of the smarter black people, right out the gate within his first 100 days in office. And he was a super pro-Zionist as well. You forget that there was a Israeli incursion into the Gaza Strip at the first weeks of his presidency. His first major international challenge, where people were saying, hey, there are war crimes being committed in Gaza. And he looked at that camera, dead in that camera, as president, and said, I fully support Israel's right to defend itself. And that translates, I support the genocide, I support the slaughter. Don't even go there. Don't even ask. But all that to say, if Obama had done any of the things, a fraction of the things he said, and also at the same time, there was not just a rise in people joining right-wing, overtly racist militias and right-wing organizations, Obama ended. If you go back to one thing about Clinton, love or hate Clinton, you should hate Clinton, but hate or hate Clinton, he brought hell to the militia movement. Go read about, that whole Oklahoma City thing, Timothy McVeigh. Go look at the Ruby Ridge incident. His what's her name? Uh, she just passed away not too long ago. Wow. Hold on. Her name is right on the clip. Janet Reno. Lord have his mercy. Janet Reno. Janet Reno was his attorney general. And for some reason, Diallo, you would vote for Obama now. The hell I would. No, I wouldn't. No, it depends. Again, I'm not emotionally, but anyway, Obama, if he was if he had any sense, he would have created a task force to investigate and to disrupt right-wing organizations, domestic terrorism. Obama should have created an FBI task force against domestic right-wing terrorists. But Obama didn't want to be seen as doing anything that was in favor of or that acknowledged racism. During his first years of his presidency, people were talking about post-racial America, and that's what he tried to push. But anyway, all that to say is, by the time he left office, the economy was reestablished. Obama did a magnificent job of stabilizing and getting the U.S. economy on the right track. But people were ignorant of, like I said, everybody's pro-capitalist. Nobody fucking understands capital. So when Trump came with the whole, when Trump came and he was running against a candidate that says, I'm going to take the baton from Obama and I'm going to keep going, stay on the same track, keep going in the same direction. Black people said, we just going to take our ball and go home. Fuck this shit. The super predator lady's talking about she going to save us. And I also, it pains me to say, her platform was wonderful. Her platform, if you go back and look at the Hillary Clinton's platform and her proposals, they were pretty good. If I was running for president, I'd say a good quarter of her policies I would implement, or if I was president of a nation, she had some pretty good policies on deck, but nobody bothers to look at it because you can't fool us twice. Obama lied to us for 8 years. We already know Bill Clinton. Remember, Bill Clinton would say, I feel your pain. Bill Clinton was on the Arsenio Hall show playing a saxophone. He was eating McDonald's and beatboxing with high schoolers in the bathroom and in freestyle sites. Bill Clinton was we thought he was our guy. Toni Morrison said that Bill Clinton was the first black president, and he was the first black president because he was the child of a single mother who grew up in poverty on welfare and was eating fast food and junk food every day like black people eat, and he pulled himself up by his bootstrap. He got it out the mud to become a Rhodes Scholar. And before Obama, black folks, prominent black Negroes, was running around calling him our first black president. Bill Clinton was fully invited to the picnic for many years, and when he got in, he governed in the more conservative fashion than Richard Nixon. And prior to Trump taking office, if somebody wanted to talk about an overtly racist, corrupt, scumbag president, they would say Nixon. And every president after Nixon was saying, hey, are they good or better than Nixon or worse than Nixon? And if you wanted to call out a president from that era to say they're good or bad, you'd be like, this is like Nixon. This is worse than Watergate. Oh, this is water. And everything was called a gate. So to say that Obama and Bill Clinton governed to the right, their policies were more regressive and more anti-labor, more anti-environment, more in violation of international law than Nixon. They just had better marketing schemes. They had better promotions. They had better PR. And by the time they were elected, Ronnie Reagan and the Bushes had moved the Overton window so far to the right that if Nixon was running today with the same campaign, he would be considered a liberal Democrat, because the average liberal Democrat is pretty much to the right of Nixon. I mean, to get someone that is to the left of Nixon, you have to look at the Democratic Socialists and the Progressive Democrats, and they represent a weak minority with faction within the larger Democratic Party. I have to speed this up. Black politics regressed under MAGA because we are confused about where we stand in relationship to MAGA. Black people that assert that Kamala and Trump would be no different. That's what I was hearing. It makes no difference. There's no difference between Kamala. That means you have regressed. The emergence of MAGA has warped your political comprehension. That Trump represents the downfall of America, or that America won't survive MAGA. You're gone. Now, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious that pro-MAGA Black people are a lost cause. I don't think I have to talk about them. But many Black people that operate, Dave Chappelle just came out, because Dave Chappelle played a major role in validating and boosting the whole MAGA movement, and is a big reason why so many Black men were seduced by Trump. I did a show called The Trump Seduction, talking specifically about Black men and Trump, and even Black men who don't vote for Trump resonate with Trump. And you'll find a lot of prominent, established Black men that are Trump adjacent. They like what Trump is doing. They just don't like how he's doing it. And a lot of things they feel like the misogyny and just the raw execution of power, the unapologetic fucking shittiness of Trump. That's attractive. I mean, that's the bravado. I mean, hip hop. They accurately stated that Trump was the most quoted name in hip hop. There was no other public figure referenced more in raps than Donald Trump. The opulence, the wealth, the disregard for women, using women as tools, as objects. Even Snoop Dogg went from being anti-Trump, and then when Trump came to power, all of a sudden he bent the knee. Ice Cube, remember, towards the end of his administration, Ice Cube went and had a meeting and had the agenda. Now Ice Cube is hiding. Now Ice Cube is a Zionist puppet. Y'all give Ice Cube so many passes. I'd like to know, is it just the rapping? Is it just the rapping? Because Ice Cube is one of the greatest sellouts in history. He's one of the most beloved sellouts. One of the most beloved sellouts in history. And I don't understand it. But even Kamala now being rebranded, because a lot of sisters are out here saying, I did my job. I voted for Kamala. And I don't have to protest. I don't have to oppose ICE. I don't have to say nothing. And this is the stay home Black, because Black women did their job by voting for Kamala. So it seems like everybody, the reality is, in terms of institutional racism and in terms of the racism that Trump openly states, is the same as the racism that the Clintons dog whistled and that Obama rubber stamped and allowed to be perpetuated under his administration. Racism is a constant in the United States. But even with racism being a constant, for we as African people have been able to secure concessions and develop strategies and tactics for circumventing, diminishing, or redirecting for the benefit and interest of our community. And one thing about it is, no matter where a Black person was on the ideological or political spectrum, all Black people were anti-racist. And the main divergence and differences in our community is how to challenge, combat, and respond to racism in the best interests of our community. That used to be the fight. The integrationists, the academics, the Black militants, the wide-eyed militants, the nationalists, the internationalists, the Kawaiidists, the Pan-Africanists. Most Black internal conflicts was about, we had certain fundamental agreements. Even if you go back and look at the debate between James Baldwin and Malcolm X, you even look at the debate Kwame Ture, or if you look at someone, Thomas Sowell, if you look at Black conservatives and Black radicals, Black liberals, Black people who say we need to engage the political system, we need to vote, and we need to run for office, and the Black people who say I don't vote, all that shit don't mean nothing. Regardless of all the divergence, there were certain universal truths that all Black people, or 99% of Black people, all agreed upon. Yes, there's racism. Yes, Black people, as a result of racism, are burdened with certain disadvantages in this system that other people have not had to deal with. And we disagreed and went in many directions on how to address it. But under the MAGA era, you got Black people not only denying that Candace Owens, Kanye West, some of the most famous and well-recognized Black people not only deny that racism is real, they say to the extent that there is racism, it is coming from Black people against whites. That Black people are the racists, Black people are the racial aggressors. The only reason race is an issue is because Black people keep bringing it up and using it as a bludgeon, as an excuse. So we're dealing with conditions. White lives matter. We don't even know what the fuck to think, let alone what the fuck to do. We got Somalians out here for Trump. And even when you had Black people supporting conservatives, Muhammad Ali supported Ronald Reagan. James Brown supported Ronald Reagan. We've always had idiotic Black people who got no business throwing their hat in the political arena. Let me tell you something. If you're a Black person and who's famous, who's an athlete, who's an artist, who is a successful business person, I don't say you're not allowed to speak about politics, but you better know what the fuck you're talking about. So I don't mind anybody speaking or engaging with politics. I just mind people that don't know what the fuck they're doing or what the fuck they're talking about engaging in politics. But the political right wing has always been able to seduce Black people because Black people are socially conservative. The majority of the Black race is socially conservative. The majority of the Black race, Black people are more religious and endure and celebrate religious indoctrination to a higher degree than whites. Black people have a higher rate of church attendance and religious belief than any other population in this country. And because the church is an institution of reactionary institution, because the church is an institution that mandates that you believe shit that is patently false, that you hold on to realities that aren't real, and you reject facts, evidence, and science. So it's the more religious a person, an individual is, the more prone they are to manipulation. But the more religious a population is, the more prone they are to religion, to abuse and exploitation. All that to say is Black people always teeter. So if a racist comes out and says, I'm about family values, put the Black man in the home, I'm about personal responsibility, you work hard and you get what you earn what you get. I'm against those queers, them sissies. That's very seductive to way too many very stupid, very gullible Black people. So we who have shit figured out, our voice is greatly diminished because we've allowed people like Tariq Nasheed and that other girl. What's her name? That ADOS, Yvette, to take over the mantle of reparations and create false identities for Black people. We've allowed Dr. Fubar to become the clown prince of Pan-Africanists. So we on the left, we in the analytical, revolutionary, conscious, woke left are overshadowed. And it's not all our fault. I mean, the algorithm doesn't favor us. But if we're losing, you can't just simply say, well, the system they're not fighting fair. We have to come up with new strategies and tactics to fight. But anyway, we are regressing under MAGA. And now there's a post-MAGA world. Make America Great is mutating into America First. And America First is a more insidious white nationalist, theocratic, reactionary, pro-capitalist position than MAGA. And since America First is arising as a challenge and a divergence from MAGA, there's a lot of stupid Black people with U.S. American citizenships that are saying, hey, we can be America First. I can't be MAGA because MAGA means make America great again. And MAGA wants to go back to the 1950s. MAGA wants to go back to the 1920s. MAGA wants to go back to Jim Crow. MAGA wants to institute slavery. But America First, that means from here forward. So even a lot of people that were smart enough to reject MAGA are falling into the America First trap. And the American First, they out here talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. And anybody that comes up to challenge MAGA and Trump is all of a sudden a hero to these goddamn idiots. This is Candace Owens, a lady who literally was risen up. She was literally lifted up and became a millionaire on the payroll of a Zionist. And then she jumped from a Zionist to a Christian nationalist. And now that she's espousing Christian nationalist rhetoric, and many of you are Christians and your Christian values, because you believe the empty rhetoric of Christian about family values, morality, hard work, all that bullshit. So a lot of Black people are like, oh, we should hear her out. She's actually smart. She's actually calling out Trump. She's actually calling out Epstein. She's actually calling out Israel. And y'all gonna let this heifer, who all three of those things, and she was like, I don't want to go with Zionist. I'm going to go with Nazis. She was right there. Turning Point USA, Nick Fuentes. And y'all like, oh yeah, Candace. Oh, so, and I don't like repeating this because I don't like having to explain it. But Kwame Ture used to say things about people. He used to call some people, he used to say, some people are too stupid to be a slave. They're too stupid to be a slave. They're too stupid to be dumb. She's married to a 1%er. Y'all been reading those rumors, those horrible rumors floating around Twitter saying that Candace Owens' husband is gay, and it comes from a European aristocracy, and his aristocratic family said if you're not married and have an offspring, then you can't get your inheritance. So he had to run out and get married, and that he proposed to Candace Owens over FaceTime, and he only knew her for 2 weeks when he said, will you marry me? And their marriage is a hollow shell of a marriage, and he only married her to hide his homosexual ideation, the fact that he's a closeted gay man, and the fact that he needed to put a ring on it in order to fulfill his inheritance obligation. Have y'all heard those horrible, horrible rumors? That's all I've heard. They're just horrible rumors. Candace would never. So what? She only knew that man for 2 weeks and got proposed to over FaceTime to a man she barely knew. And now she out here talking about family values. And that people in the UK all got stories about things they've done in the Bass houses. Can you believe it? And you know, Candace Owens, she want to lie about people's gender and gender identity. So, I mean, I guess we're not going to weep for her that she might be the victim of vicious rumors, since she's also a spreader and she traffics in vicious rumors. What do you know? Anyway, shit. Wow. Why do I even take notes? Thank you to everyone that contributed. We'll have to come back. Well, maybe we won't. I'm saying all this to say, Black people, we got to get our politics straight. We got to understand our relationships to the American political system and electoral system and American governance, representative democracy. But also, as John Henry Clark said, the kitchen table of our elders' house is our Supreme Court. Our grandma's kitchen table is our Congress. So the true governance of African people comes from within the core of the community, not from the U.S. government. But our relationship to the government has always been an antagonistic one. And Black people engage the political system to extract our resources, to mitigate the harm, and to disrupt policies and agendas that directly harm us and others. It's never been about caring. Black people have, believe it or not, I conclude that Black people have been some of the most politically competent people in this country. If not for the class war, the race war, the insidious conflict, Black people have been under relentless attack from the government and from private industry and private interests in this country since the Emancipation Proclamation. We've been under relentless attack. So we look at it and say, well, Black people can't be that smart politically because look how much they suffer. But the reality is, as Dr. John Henry Clark told us, we have endured conditions that have driven other races of people, other cultures, other ethnic groups to extinction. We have endured. So we don't like to give ourselves credit because we think if you're not rich, then you're not doing something, you're doing something wrong. But our continued existence is evidence that we figured some shit out. So I'm saying as we're going into another political cycle, we have to have our internal politics, our internal agendas, our internal policies and standards. Then we got to have our external, outward-facing political agenda. We have to understand the various political factions. We have to look at the choke points and the vulnerable spots. We have to look at the places where we can impose our wills and extract resources or disrupt or direct power. We have to be cold, distant, and calculating. But right now, politically, Black people, it is pure chaos. And confusion is the enemy of revolution. So going forward, I'm going to talk more specifically about political organization and political analysis because it's just so disturbing to me. We got William A. Smith and all these goofy ass people. We don't know who the heroes and villains are. Or even worse than not knowing who the heroes and Black villains are, we fucking let a motherfucker go from being a villain one week and a hero the next week. So we need political clarity. Politics fucking matters. Politics is not limited to elections. Politics is not limited to the political parties. Politics is not limited to the fucking government. We all know. When you go to work, there's a whole political environment there. When you go to school and academia, there's politics. Being able to maneuver to assert your will and mitigate harm done to you and yours, that's politics. Being able to limit what they take and maximize what you get back, that's politics. And we are extremely political. This era in my short life, I know Black folks been around for much longer and hopefully y'all be around long after I'm gone. But in my lifetime, this is the height of political confusion. It is one thing to win or lose in politics. It's a whole nother fucking thing to not even know where you stand. And that's where we are. Many Black people, I talked to a brother who's been putting in work on the streets of Chicago every day. since the day I moved here. It's one of the brothers I've known the longest time. I've had him on my show. I don't want to call him out by name, but I was just talking to him about politics. And the brother was confused as fuck. I'm like, I know I'm not talking to an organizer, a freedom fighter, a conscious black man. And then he's telling me that it's not you, James. Hey, listen, if you think I'm talking about you, you know you if I'm talking about you for sure. So don't think. Now, I don't want to say he's a good brother. I respect him. I look at, I admire him, all that. I got his back. He calls me, I answer. If he call me out, I'm there. But just talking to him and seeing the level of political regression amongst the conscious black people, people who are supposed to know better. Anyway, let me pass around. No, it's not Geechee either. Geechee's pretty good on politics. Geechee is the worst person in the world, but he seems to be pretty, clear as far as I know. Because I don't watch Geechee every day, so I ain't talked to Geechee in a while. So if he said some things, but when I have spoken to him, he's clear with me. Geechee has a tendency to switch up. So, but as far as me and my conversations with Geechee, no, I'm not talking about him. We pretty much align on this particular issue. Yes, brothers are. Yes, they are. It's really funny how black people are like, yeah, I don't like politics or I don't like the Democrats because they don't like us. I never hear a black person say, I'm not engaging in capitalism. I'm not in because the economic system hates us as much as the political system. And the same people telling you to leave politics or don't pay attention to politics be the main ones saying economics will save you. And saying the economics will save you. How's that different than saying the Democrats will save you? Who's that? Who's Frank Zanu? I'm gonna write his name down. But this is political tin can time. Please contribute. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now, Patreon. I got mad things for Patreon. Let me show y'all this. It's a button. Look at this. Isn't this nice? Wouldn't you like to have this and put it on your denim jacket? It's kind of glare. You know who that is. Look at that. Got a Mark Essex button. Kind of hard to show y'all with the glare. Mark Essex. Y'all know who that is? Grenada. New Jewel Movement. Isn't that nice? Look at this. AWO logo. Old school. This glare is something, huh? Black Liberation Army. So I got things. It's a lot of things. Shirts, buttons, hats. A lot of nice things. So you can go to African World Order, or if you want me to send you some of that stuff for free, not for free, but as appreciation, go to Patreon. All my Patreons, I got stuff I'm about to put in the mail for y'all this week, to show my appreciation for support. You can CashApp, Venmo. Please support me in my efforts to speak power to truth. Anyway, and so until next Monday, y'all, check out. Go subscribe. I know I ain't even got to say it. Y'all all subscribe to Diallo Kenyatta at this point. Better be. But go subscribe to African World Order as well. Support Pan-African Radical Media to the extent that these motherfuckers still let us put our shit out on these platforms. Y'all gonna miss us when we gone. So support us while we're here. Is that too much to ask?